Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today's topic is one that came to me because someone responded to one of my stories, and the um, the message that I received was about I was explaining what we do in our Empowered Choices group program, where I'm supporting women who want to make the best decision for themselves and if they feel like divorce is their only option. And, this particular person was already divorced. And I was talking about one of the sessions that we learn how to communicate, especially when you're in a lot of conflict, how to be able to articulate your point, problem solve, and come to solutions when you're in a lot of conflict. And what happens in a lot of conflict is that you get completely emotionally heightened, and so it becomes really difficult to be able to respond in the way that you want to, in a way that's pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with ahsan, when you're in so much heightened emotion through the conflict. So this is really about the question that I got was, how do I communicate with somebody in a way that's pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and separate the person from the problem? Because that's what I teach, how to be able to separate the human being in front of you from the problem or the conflict that you're having with them. That they are not the conflict, they are still a servant of Allah or a creation of Allah. So how do you approach them to find solutions for your problems or the conflicts that are happening in a way where you're not being oppressed? So the person asked the question, well, what about if I'm being attacked or belittled, or this person hasn't even apologized to me for what they did, and this, we're talking about a couple who's already divorced but they're co-parenting. Response that I got was, I just want to get justice for myself, and I also want to be able to get justice but not revenge. So that's what I wanted to really address today. And it was a question that came from somebody who was being, you know, dealing with belittling, being accused, and threatened. And she wants to stand up for herself, but she wants to make sure that she's not responding from a place of revenge, if you will, but more so from a place of justice for herself. Okay. And so the issue really here is, are you responding from a place of hurt? So if there is hurt going on internally for you, when you are being treated with, let's say, even injustice, you're being belittled or accused, and you need to communicate, you need to raise a child together. But how do you do that? How do you stand up for yourself not from a place of revenge because you're hurt? Okay, so that's the first thing, is understanding and recognizing, hey, like, is that's what's going on for me right now? Am I in pain? Am I in a space of feeling hurt? Because that's the first point of understanding, is that if you are, then that's what needs to get addressed first. Because if we're approaching anybody from the space of pain or hurt, that is what is going to come out in interactions or communication with that person. You're not going to be able to articulate any solutions or the core issues, because so much of the hurt or pain is at the surface. That's what's going to come out, and that only heightens and activates the person even further, and then the conflict just grows. Okay, because really what I was teaching is about how to set and hold limits. That's what we call them. We don't call them having boundaries, because boundaries really it keeps you rigid, and it doesn't allow for connection to yourself and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and even to the other person. And I'm not saying that you're going to have a connection with a person that you're in high conflict with or a person who is attacking you. I'm saying that connection on a human to human level, being able to see this person as a human being, because it's when we stop seeing the person as a human being, we can justify getting our point across, or what looks like, being able to stand up for ourselves. When you want to stand up for yourself, um, it's about first knowing what are my own limits, like, do I have a level of self-respect and self-honor and self-dignity for myself, right? Do I know my limits for myself in terms of, do I have clarity? Do I have connection? Do I have compassion for myself? Do I have compassion for the other human being that I'm in high conflict with? And a lot of times it's no. It's like we can't find the compassion for another human being because they're doing all of these unjust things to us, right? So in order to hold limits with somebody for things that are not okay, you have to be able to be in a place of peace inside. You have to be able to be in a place of clarity inside. And if your peace has gotten disrupted by all the things that this person is doing, then that needs to be addressed first, because peace doesn't come from what somebody is doing or not doing. Peace comes from your connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I've done many lives on this recently. You can go back and rewatch them. Because if a person is causing pain and hurt for you, that needs to be addressed. And that's what I teach, is where does pain come from? Where does hurt come from? It's never coming, your feelings of hurt and pain is never coming from what someone is doing. Yes, they're doing things that are not okay, that are unjust. However, that's not the source of your feelings. Your feelings are coming from how you're thinking about the things that they're doing. And I go into depth and detail in helping you understand this in Empowered Choices Mastermind. So one of the other things that I teach in order to be able to separate the person from the problem, so you can come to some solutions, so you can move beyond the pain and the hurt, and set limits for things that are not okay. Be able to co-parent and communicate when all you're getting is attacks and threats, and criticism. So one of the things that I teach is called separate realities. So what does that mean? And I'm not going to go in depth here on this live. That happens when you're in the room in Empowered Choices. So what other people do or say is a reflection of what's happening in their inner world. It's not personal at all. If we are taking it personal because of what they're saying or doing, directing it towards us, they're seeing us in a certain light. And that is coming from their inner world and how they're thinking, what their life experiences are, what's going on for them inside. It's not personal. And if we are taking it personal, then that's where we need some healing for our own self. We need to unpack why are we taking it personal? What's going on for us, right? And then so when we understand separate realities, that what people are saying or doing is a reflection of them and what's happening for them, we don't take things personal. We're able to separate the human being, the human soul in front of us from the problem, and approach the problem and not attack the person. We're actually able to honor the human being in front of us. We're able to address the behavior separate from the person, because a person is much more than their behavior. Behavior is just a symptom of what's happening underneath. Okay? And so to be able to solve problems and to be able to communicate and move forward in the task that you have, which is raising children together, you need creativity for that. And that creativity comes from your connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that's going to give you insight or basira and the ability to solve these problems. Okay? So let's go back to being triggered or activated with the feelings of hurt and pain. That we call a love letter from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's actually a signal to pause, to slow down, and see like what is my hurt and my anger telling me about what's happening inside of me. What is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala trying to show me here? Because that what's actually happening is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses people, circumstances, situations to bring you closer to him through the feelings that come up. Okay, so it's not about what the person is doing, it's about what is coming up for you when they are doing these things, because that's a signal and a sign from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to go back to him, because he wants to heal you. There's something that within you that needs healing before you can move forward. There's something in here that he's trying to show you, that like we know sometimes when we get so much tunnel vision we can't zoom out beyond the hurt and the pain to actually see what's the message here. Okay, and it's to understand like what's our focus on. Is if the focus on what this person is doing to me, then we're looking in the wrong place. The appropriate thing, the way to actually address this is, what is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showing me here in this moment? What in me is being called to be healed? Okay, because this is the extent of what I could talk about here in this live. And again, this is the deep work that we do in Empowered Choices, because it's going to be different for everyone. The messages Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to send you and send me are going to be different, because I need to hear different things and you need to hear different things, and he's going to use different circumstance, situation, and people to activate those feelings, so we can go back to him, so he can guide us on how to respond. Now that needs to, Assalamu alaikum to everyone who's joined. That leads me to the next thing to address here is justice. Where is justice coming from? Where are we looking for justice? Who is Al-Adl, right? The most just. Who is your protector? Who is your provider? Like, where are we looking for justice and seeking out justice for ourselves? Are we taking charge of that ourselves? Like, I'm going to get the justice, or are you going to go to the most just, who's going to show you what to focus on, how to move forward? Because those are just the little things, and we don't want to get caught in the little things, because part of getting justice is doing the right thing. What is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guiding you to do? It's not just about the strategy that I'm going to use to get justice for myself. Yes, use your voice, but you have to know how to use the voice Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you to in the realm of justice, in the realm of enjoining the good and forbidding the evil, right? And that comes from ourselves as well. That we have to know what to speak, what to use our voice in to speak and to say. And because sometimes staying silent is the right thing to do, is the wise thing to do, right? Because also sometimes silence is the best response you can give somebody, right? It may be the highest response, because you're doing it with ihsan to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that sends a message across to somebody who is, doing low level behavior and low level thinking of attacking and belittling and all those type of things, right? That's not high level thinking. That's not high level actions, right? It's not actions of ihsan or taqwa. So do we want to stay at the same vibration as the other person, or do we want to choose how we're going to respond in a way that's pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from a higher level thinking, higher level of vibrating, right? So the justice that you're seeking, you have to go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that first, because it's going to come from him. He's going to show you how to get that. And sometimes it's sitting in silence and focusing on what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is guiding you to do, rather than trying to get it yourself. And I know, because I'm speaking from my own experience of justice, for me looked like focusing on being the best version of myself, the best mother, the best daughter, the best servant, rather than focusing on getting the justice that I think I'm entitled to at that moment. It meant sitting and waiting for years, for 2 years. So with the belief, with the conviction and the trust and the tawakkul of knowing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who's the most just, he's going to give it to me. He's going to get it from me. But what is he looking for me in this moment? Okay? Because both of them, they come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The emotions that are coming up for you when you feel like you need to get the justice, and how to move forward, okay? And standing up for yourself and speaking. So if we want to look at it as like standing up for yourself doesn't necessarily equate speaking truth, because truth is going to come from clarity, which is going to come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not going to come from your hurt or your pain, because those are your wounds and those are your feelings. Feelings are not always the truth. Truth only comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He's the one who allows us to see what is true and what is not. Okay? So we want it, that's why we want to have a strong grounded connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the present moment and with ourselves, so we can see from here, because it's the hearts that see truth. It's not the eyes. Okay? So let's go back to justice versus revenge. Okay? Revenge comes into play, and it can be really subtle. It could be, in the background when our emotions are unresolved, when our nafs is leading the way of like, I didn't even get an apology yet. This person is not even apologizing to me. They're just attacking and criticizing me. Well, people will do people will do. Even the Prophet ﷺ, he got attacked, he got criticized, he got, like belittled, he got called names. But we want to follow his example of how he responded to that. He always took his pain back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He looked for justice through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the wisdom that you are seeking in order for how to respond and move forward is going to come to you when you surrender. And, it's going to come to you also when you have the level of healing that you're being called in for. Okay? And so you can't move forward with wisdom when you're in your hurt and your pain, in your wound, okay? So you can ask yourself, is this coming from hurt and pain? Am I carrying that? Or is this coming from divine guidance? Am I clear that, no, this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is guiding me, because I'm beyond that hurt and that pain, because I've healed, because He's healed me. So for all of us, there's like a hurt, wounded version of ourselves, and then there's a version of ourselves that is in our wisdom. And it doesn't mean like it means that like at any given moment we could be both. Also, we could be in a hurt, wounded space at that moment, but we're choosing to be wise because we're pausing, we're slowing down, we're not acting, we're waiting to see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to guide us or heal us, so we can move forward in a way that's pleasing to Him without that sense of urgency, because that sense of urgency also is a signal to pause, because urgency comes from shaitan. It does not come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, unless we want to, yes, we want to move forward quickly in doing good, right, when there's something good. But if it's not something good and they're feeling that urgency or pressure, it's to pause. Okay, we have a sense of urgency also because we want to feel better. And that's where understanding your feelings, what they are, what they're not, where they come from, and where they don't come from is so important and key, which is one of the main elements that I teach to help you understand and empower choices. So healing really helps you move from that wounded version to that wise version of yourself. So don't allow your trauma and your pain to dictate how you're going to move forward. Go back and allow Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide you and lead you in the best way possible.